Hello, everyone. We are back here once again with the Total NASL Roundtable. This time we were talking about some off-season news. It has been really, really crazy this off-season. So, Theo, how are you feeling right now about what's going on? Can you just talk about your emotions?
Okay, well, I'll set it up a little bit by talking about what it is that we're emotion about, right? Okay, so yesterday the Fury put out a press release saying that a whole bunch of players were being released and not re-signed, or their options were not being picked up. Ali Hassan, Ugur Albayrak, Oliver, which has been a player with the Fury since the beginning. We already know that Drew Becky won't be back. Andrew Wiedemann, we knew that he wasn't going to be back. And so yesterday was kind of a day of, oh yeah, okay, you can see that those players didn't fit into the plans, no problem. It happens. It's NASL. There's a bunch of players that get released. Or, hey Spencer, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm just giving a recap of what's going on. So, that was yesterday, and actually there was some really good news in yesterday's release for the Fury, in that it was announced for the first time that Rafael Alves is under contract for next year. He is one of the best central defenders in the league. He's the partnership with Colin Falvey that this year was solid as anything that we've ever seen in Ottawa. And so that was really good news. Rafael Alves was going to be back. And so what that sort of precipitated was the news that came out today, which was completely different in tone. These were transfers. Transfers in the NASL. Who knew, right? Yeah, exactly. The three that were transferred out were essential parts of the Fury's success this year. First off, well, I'll do it like in order of oh my god.
Okay.
Less oh my god was maybe Siniša Ubiparjupović. He was our number 10, our advanced midfielder, playmaker, who really started coming into his own mid-season this year. The fall season was pretty crazy in terms of his output. So we knew that, he's getting on in age and not necessarily wanting to come back to Ottawa. That was possible. So he's gone. He's been transferred out to Indy 11, which made Michael, regular on our show, very happy.
Yeah, it's a great pickup for Indy 11.
Is.
Yeah.
It really is a great pickup for them. And he immediately fills a need for them, which was the creativity side of things. Okay, so that's Siniša. Okay. And also, just as an aside, the fans, the supporter section, had this great chant for Ubiparjupović that now they can't use. It was sort of a spin on that whole Aussie oi, oi, oi kind of thing. It was like, ubi, 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 oi, oi, oi. And like they would just repeat it over and over. It fit perfectly. And anyways, that's going to be sad to not have that in the stadium anymore. They'll find other songs. Second, Ryan Richter. Okay, here's a guy who came to the Fury from Toronto FC last season on loan. Had a good little run, 4 or 5 games, and then it was announced that he was signing with the Fury until the end of 2016. So we were all prepared to have Ryan Richter, our right back, who Marc Dos Santos said was one of, if not the premier right back in the league, in NASL. We were prepared to have that guy back. And when you combine that with yesterday's news that Alves was back, it meant that we had Paiser in goal, and we had our back four intact. And today, the bottom drops out, and Richter's gone. Now, in speaking with Richter, I spoke to him today, and he said that it wasn't anything to do with Ottawa. It wasn't the franchise, the club. It had to do with a family decision. He's American. He's from the Philadelphia area. His wife is expecting, and he made a family decision, is what he said, to go elsewhere. He couldn't tell me where he was going because that hasn't been announced yet. But he wanted to make sure to thank everyone and that he had a great time in Ottawa. And he really felt that it was true. Like he sent off like 5 or 6 tweets today, thanking all kinds of people and the atmosphere in Ottawa and all that stuff. Okay, so those are the two. And then the third one was the worst one. Richie Ryan. Oh, no, we're going to talk about Heineman after this. Yeah. The third one is the worst. Richie Ryan, the captain of the Fury, who was under contract until 2016, gone. Transferred to the Jacksonville Armada. Yeah, and we didn't see that coming. The story with Ryan, and I haven't spoken to him, and I don't know of any of the reporters and the journalists in Ottawa who've been able to reach him. So we don't really have a clear understanding of what happened there. But if I were to theorize, and I will, towards the end of the season, on 3 or 4 occasions, he made the case. He was making the case to the brass of the club, Ottawa Sports and Entertainment Group. He kept saying it's important for the club to spend the money to keep this group of guys together, considering the success that they've had, which is a reasonable position. And so he kept harping on that. In fact, in New York, in his post-match comments at the final, he brought it up again. He said that it was disappointing to lose, but they had had such success that it was important to keep the team together, and that hopefully the budget would reflect that. And today we get the news that he's gone. So for me, it's putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm jumping to conclusions. I'll fully admit that, and I probably will be shown to be wrong. But for right now, that's what it looks like. It's what it feels like, is that he did not like the direction that the club was going. Paul Dalglish, who's our new head coach, took to the air today on local radio station to say, and also on Twitter, to say that those 3 players, on the first day that Dalglish arrived on the job, they put in their transfer request. So that, if that's true, then it has nothing to do with Dalglish necessarily. They didn't even meet with him before making their transfer requests. It shows a little bit what the attitude was within the players in terms of where the club is going. Or contract negotiations did not go the way they wanted, or there could be a multitude of reasons behind all of this. And then you add to the fact that on Monday, it was confirmed, something that we've known for a long time, Spencer, that Tom Heineman, the Fury's leading scorer last year, is going to Tampa Bay. So that's been known for a while, so the blow was less impactful yesterday when we learned that officially. We'd known for a while. But, yeah, so in essence, that's what's happened in the past 2 days in the Fury. 10 players in all are no longer Fury players. So that's a huge gap to fill. And we can maybe talk a little bit later about what that means for Paul Dalglish and how we go forward from that. But yeah, if you guys have questions, we can start off with that.
My question is about Heineman. Now, I don't know much about him, obviously, or watched a lot of Ottawa. It's kind of hard to watch the other teams. But do you think he's going to be able to come in, especially since I believe it's not they picked up an option on Freddie. I believe they inked a whole new contract with him, which possibly might be multi-year. With Freddie to right behind him, do you think he's going to be able to come in and provide what the Rowdies really missed last year, which was like a true goal scorer, essentially? Because they had a lot of, they could get the ball in the third, but they could never get in the back of the net. Do you think he can come in and really fix that?
Yeah, it depends how management uses him, and I mean, there's no reason to think that they wouldn't use him the way that Mark Dos Santos molded him, because for the first year of Heineman's tenure here in Ottawa, a lot of the fans were disappointed in his output, and understandably, it wasn't a great output. I think he got 7 goals last season, and it had less to do with the tally, the statistics. The fans felt that he wasn't giving enough effort for the role that he had, which is He's a big number 9, a center forward who abuses the opposition defense, is very physical, needs to be, backs into them, receives the ball with his back to goal, and holds it up for wingers or whoever else is coming up in the offense. Something clicked in about May of this year with Heineman. Something went off. Like, he understood, or I can't put my finger on it, but all of a sudden he became a scoring machine. He went from there. I think he had 1 or 2 goals by that point, and he finished with 12. I think it was 12. So he really turned it on, and he really understood what his role was, and he could see it on the field that the players around him knew what he was doing, he knew what he was doing, and not only did he become the hold-up player that he is, but he could turn and beat defenders as well once he received the ball. He became a very complete center forward at that point. So if that's the player you're getting, and if that's the player that you utilize on that team in Tampa, with Freddie Adu supplying him, you've got yourself a good combination there.
Theo, you said that earlier on after the season, in our season review show, you said that the Fury are going to have a bigger budget. Do you see them, like, what are your thoughts there? A bigger budget, and you see these players leaving maybe for different reasons, not for the money, maybe just Heineman. Where do you see the Fury going now when they need to replace all these players?
Oh, I think we can safely say, like you said, that Heineman is leaving for the money, and who can blame him? Word is that he tripled his salary, and it's not something that I think the Fury was prepared to do. And he's gone to a state with no what is it? Something about taxes there.
We don't have a state sales tax.
State sales tax, and I think professional athletes in Florida also get some sort of tax break. So we are a very high tax nation here in Canada, and that plays into it. If you're making, say, let's be very generous, and say that he was making $75,000 a year here, well, 20 of that might be taxes, right? So you're looking at a factor that plays into signing athletes in Canada, not just in soccer, but in other sports as well. The other thing that is absolutely unavoidable right now is the value of the Canadian dollar. We're at about, I didn't check it recently, I'm going to say 70 cents. That's what it was at when we went to New York a couple of weeks ago. Feels like such a long time ago. So 70 cents on the dollar. The Fury pay their salaries, from what I'm told. I haven't seen documents or anything to verify, but I'm told they pay their athletes, their players, in US dollars, but all the revenues are in Canadian dollars. All the gates, the merchandise, and all that stuff is in Canadian dollars. So there's a gap between what they're paying in these salaries, US dollar, right up here, and then 70% in Canadian revenue. So that's a factor as well, and it has to play into all of that's going on right now as well. And okay, so your question, sorry, John, about budget. Okay. The budget might have increased, but you're still playing at a disadvantage against the U.S. teams with that 30% premium that you have to pay to get players to come, and all the other factors that are always there, which is the weather. Nobody knows Ottawa. They think they're going to the boonies, like all these things that Mark DeSantos was apparently an expert at selling. And who knows, maybe Paul Dalglish is too. We haven't seen that, so we can't judge him on that yet. But Ottawa's at a disadvantage despite the fact that they had all the success last year.
De Guzman, do you see him returning next season?
I just listened to a radio interview that Paul Dalglish gave to TSN 1200 here in Ottawa. And he was talking about Dalglish, about De Guzman, almost in the past tense. And I'll frame it for you the way that he said it. He talked about Richie Ryan, he talked about Sinisa Ubi-Parapovic, and he talked about Julian De Guzman being players in their 30s who are declining assets. He put those three players in the same bucket, and two of them have been transferred out. it's not a smoking gun, but it kind of gives you the mindset that it's not a player that he's looking necessarily to bring back, because Julian de Guzman is one of those players that comes at a premium. He's Canada's national men's team's captain. He's, I wouldn't go so far as to say a legend, but he's the all-time caps leader for Canada, and he is a known quantity here in this country. So he is one of the only players that we've gone out and signed that people went, oh yeah, I know who that is. So he is going to turn 35 before the season starts. He was very influential on the team this year, so I'd be sad to see him go. But it didn't sound tonight like Dalglish had him in his sights, in his philosophy.
Do you think de Guzman, when they signed him, do you think he sold a lot of tickets, just that signing for the Fury?
I don't think he sold a whole bunch of tickets, no. I think we've addressed this before, but obviously it's a good thing to bring back up. You have a dedicated slice of soccer fans in Canada that follow the Canadian men's national team very closely, and know, like, in those households, Julian de Guzman's a household name. But in the average soccer mom, soccer dad household in Ottawa, I'm not sure that name has anywhere near the cachet that, say, a Christine Sinclair has, or that a hockey player has in one of the teams here in Canada. It's just the reality. So I don't think that he moved a lot of tickets. I'm sure that some people for sure went, oh, the Fury signed that guy? They're for real then. They're not this semi-pro team that we thought they were. They're a professional setup. So that perception, it helped to change the perception among even soccer fans that this was for real. But that's done. Like, that push that they got from, if they got one from buying de Guzman, that's over. They're not going to attract more fans by signing him to a second season. If that makes sense.
So last question about the Fury deal. When you said that they may not be going with the older players, do you think we may see a younger Fury team and a more exciting team?
Yeah, that's exactly the sense that I got, and not just a sense. Dalglish talked about it tonight on the radio show. He said that they would be looking at bringing in players who they could mold and bring them up and have them go on the rise in terms of talent and value, and then sell them for profit. This is a change in philosophy, in my opinion, as to what has gone on beforehand with Marc Dos Santos. It's actually a question that I asked John Pugh, the president of the Fury, at the post-season press conference. I asked him if that was something they were looking to do. He told me that it wasn't part of their business plan, but that it's something that they wouldn't be averse to doing. We saw today that it's definitely something that they are interested in doing for the right situation, and I think that means they're going to go younger, and for me, it absolutely means that the Fury now have to sign players long-term. They have to sign young players long-term if they want to profit off of their development. You can't sign a guy 1 year, like we currently have a situation with Mauro Estuquiu, who is a defensive midfielder who's been a breakout star for the Fury this year. His contract is finished. He's done. So we wouldn't see any profit. I don't like the word profit, but that's what it is. Off a transfer, there is no transfer. He's free to go wherever he wants. I think the murky side of NASL contract come into play here, but he wasn't in the press release yesterday about picking up his option, and he wasn't part of the list of players that are under contract. So he's not part of the setup right now. Doesn't mean that he can't be signed. In fact, he's one of the players that I would hope they most go after. He was on the NASL's list for Young Player of the Year, and he is a rising star both in club football and for Canada. So we need to hang on to that guy. And yeah, that's the answer to your question. We have some questions to answer from Twitter. People are
questions,
are sending us questions, and if you have other questions, we're live. So send it to at Total NASL TV.
Yeah, on Twitter. Yes.
Yeah, on Twitter. That would be the best way. So Craig asks, contracts mean little now. What odds guys like Paiser and all change minds suddenly if offered better cash? Well, the answer to that, Craig, is it means the Fury is sort of maturing into a proper club, because nowhere in the world except in North America do contracts go to their full length and then players sit down with the team and negotiate a new contract. Transfers happen before that because you want to make the money back that you either invested in the player in developing him or that you bought him for. The money that you paid for a transfer fee. You were hoping that has appreciated. And so it's not a matter of players can change their mind at any time in soccer. It's not like hockey or baseball. I mean, players can certainly force a trade in those sports by walking out or going on strike or whatever they do to get a new contract. But in soccer, it's a common practice to walk into the manager's office and ask for a transfer. It's a transfer request. There's actually a term for it. And so I'm not too worried about those players, although Chris Hoffley of the Ottawa Sun, just before we came on air, pointed out that he learned that Colin Falvey has a clause in his contract that he can walk away from the Fury, and that expires tonight at midnight. So if he decides that, holy shit, everyone's leaving, I'm out, he can do so tonight, according to Chris Hoffley. So let's hope the clock runs out on that one.
So big question here, how did Chris Hoffley of the Ottawa Sun get that information? He must know some good people at the club.
Chris Hoffley is a professional journalist, and he must have either gotten that information from Falvey, from Falvey's agent, or from someone at the club, like you mentioned.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So we had another question, and this one was from Michael, who is our Indy 11 correspondent. He is excited about Ubi Parapovic coming to Indy 11, and let me see if I can... do you remember the question, John?
No.
No. And sorry for the impromptu...
Okay. Yeah. While you find the question, Deal, let's talk to Spencer real quick about the Rowdies. Spencer, are you so pumped for Tommy Heineman putting on that Rowdy shirt, that hooped shirt? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to go back. We have no state income tax. That's what I meant to say. For someone watches this that's in Florida and says, you don't know what I'm talking about. It's no state income tax. We have a sales tax. But yeah, I'm excited. There are people saying, what?
That means we should all move to Florida.
Yes.
And become Rowdy fans.
Here.
Yeah.
Yes. But there was, people saying we might have overpaid for him. But I mean, in reality, our biggest weakness last year, like I said, is I think was our main striker, goal scorer, and I just don't think we found the back of the net enough. A lot of the chances we had, there was going to games and watching games, there was chances created left and right from it going on the wings and everything, especially once Freddie Adu came to the club. So I think if he's in the same form he was at the end of last year, with finding the back of the net and setting up other players, it'd be a perfect signing. So I'm really excited for it. And I think so far we're doing a lot of great things. Even though some of the players we've let go, I'm sad about because you grow attached to them and stuff. But we're bringing other players now that sound like they could really help the team and push forward. Then maybe we'll make the playoffs this year. Maybe we're on a 2-year plan, maybe.
So talking about the plans, okay? So by Bill Edwards just shedding all this money on Tommy Heineman, do you think this is another maybe 1-year plan and out? Are we gonna make the playoffs or are we just gonna foul?
I think Bill Edwards will always be on a 1-year plan. Every year when it starts over, I think Bill Edwards' plan is always to win the championship, which it should be every club's plan. They should go into the beginning of the year, saying
but
we're going to
again,
win the
there should be
championship
a
and all that.
long-term plan as well. It should be
Yeah.
okay, win the championship and then we're going to build for the future. But I just think his plan is just win everything, right? In that one season.
I mean, starting with, I think it was last year was really one of the first starts of the year for the Rowdies was signing players to multiple-year contracts for them. For a lot of time, they only signed them for like the whole, like they would sign players for the whole
spring and fall
NASL calendar year. They wouldn't sign them for like a whole year, not a whole 12 months if you get it, or it would be like the whole NASL season. So now, last year they started it where they would sign them for one whole year, so that we could do preseason and stuff like that. And like I think they went last year off to places, and then they also had like options to keep players for a second year. And now I think we're starting to see that where they're investing in players and giving them like 2-year contracts. We're giving a lot of people a lot of options on players and all that. So I think there's a good sign for looking forward to retain players once we realize like hey what their talent and what they bring to the team. But then I mean coaching wise and everything, I think we're gonna have to keep going on because there's been 3 coaches now under Bill Edwards, so he doesn't seem to like his coaches very much. But hopefully, him and Stewart he's liking Stewart. I thought Stewart did a great job when he came in last year. After that, so he'll bring in his players starting this year, and we'll see what happens for our hopefully longer than 1 year plan.
Is Stu still the interim coach, or did he get?
No, Stewart was announced during the season last year that he's the full head coach now.
Okay.
So he's been addressed as that.
Just want to clarify. So we're happy with Stu, right? In Stu we trust.
Yep, there's a chant for him and everything.
Can you sing the chant or no?
I don't exactly know all of it off the top of my head. It's about Bristol Rovers because he's over there. So like came across the water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have to remember it. It's been a while since this season.
All right, I found the question from Michael, guys. It was about Ubi Peripovic, and he wanted to know if as an outsider, we thought that Ubi Peripovic was what Indy 11 needed. And I sort of answered that earlier, I guess, in that he brings a lot of creativity, and I think that's something that was missing with Indy 11 last season. So in that sense, yes, it's certainly an upgrade on what they had, in my opinion.
And Miami FC, they released it. Yeah, Spencer?
I was saying I'd have to agree. Because I watched some Indy 11 games, and they need some creativity up there.
Yeah, definitely. And also, there was one other departure today that kind of flew under the radar, but Philip Dos Santos, the brother of Mark, who was signed through next year to be assistant coach and technical director of the academy, he left. He went to the Fort Lauderdale Strikers. And so all of these departures were happening today, and my column that I wrote for Total NASL is called Exodus, because it sounds like everybody is like leaving, and hopefully that's the end of the metaphor, because I hope it doesn't mean 40 years in the desert for the Fury, but man, what a day, crazy day.
Black Tuesday, everyone, Black Tuesday.
Black Tuesday.
So are you confident, like, in the offseason that the people in charge, John Pugh, the head coach, that they're going to do everything that's right to put a winning team on the field?
No, I don't have confidence. Not that I don't have confidence in those individuals. It just feels like we're going back to square one. Like, we were an expansion team 2 years ago. We had a so-so first year, and then we exploded in the second year, and now it's all been blown up. So we're left with a good foundation at the back. There's no doubt about that. But we've got nothing right now. And we've got nothing to hang our hat on. Apparently we're getting announcements starting tomorrow from the Fury about player signings. So that, and like some of my friends and some of the people who read us on Twitter today were saying how they're excited about that. Like, it's not all doom and gloom, and that if these types of signings excite you as a person, and I do, that I find those exciting, like it's always fun to read about new signings, then yeah, it's going to be maybe the worst news, we all got it on one day and it's done. Dump it all on one day, which is a smart marketing tool, and then start with a slow trickle of good news to build back up towards the season. So that's probably the philosophy there, and I just hope it comes true. I just hope that we know the players that are signed. It's not a situation like year 0 where we signed Nicky Patterson and not many people knew who Nicky Patterson was. Nicky Patterson also one of the players that was not re-signed yesterday. A matter of fact. So, all right. So yeah, that's that.
So also Freddie Adu got re-signed to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. That's a very exciting prospect right there, right, Spencer?
I mean, I don't know if he's a prospect anymore, but
No, I just mean
it's very exciting because
yeah,
and especially since the big news was that I was reading and stuff was saying that it's not that it's like a picked up option. I believe it's a whole new inked contract, and it could be a multi-year and all that stuff. So it's good to have him on. It's good to know to keep him on and stuff. And then we kind of I saw it coming, and a couple people, because when what was it? Bill Edwards had an interview a month ago or something, or a while ago, and he said something about he sat down and talked to who was it, and then he made a comment about well, you'll see, he had a thing with Freddie Adu and someone else. I think it was Stewart, and they were both at a meeting, like a lunch or whatever. So they were both there, and he said something about inking, moving on with it. So kind of had an idea he was going to come back. I was hoping. I mean, that was honestly the biggest player I wanted us to retain was Freddie Adu. So I'm hoping it. His name and everything again last year will still help bring more fans in, but definitely his play on the field after seeing what he could do and what the potential there is for seeing him for a whole season as long as he's healthy in a Rowdy uniform.
You guys may not remember this, but Freddie Adu is one of the main reasons the Fury did not win the fall season. If you remember in that Fury away match, a Rowdy's home match, where Adu made that excellent pass over the defense onto a streaking.
I believe it was Brian Shriver,
and just a pinpoint accuracy pass that there was no defending against, and that I think drew Tampa with Ottawa and stole us 2 points. It was late in the game, and those 2 points, John, you knew very well that had we had those 2 points, you guys were not champions of the fall season.
Yeah. No, of the combined table.
Of the combined table. Yeah, that's what I mean. We won the fall season, but the combined table. Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay. Yeah.
But a good signing. I've got a soft spot, and I think a lot of people do have a soft spot for Freddie Adu. He's the big hope that was signed at he was 14 years old or something by DC United. Way too young. Way too young.
I wish I was signed at 14.
Yeah, well, I was signed at 14. It just didn't work out. Yeah, no, it's a good signing, and it's a good player to retain in NASL because it's a name that people know and recognize. What about Puerto Rico FC? What about Rayo OKC? There's no news from those two clubs. At least Miami's making noise.
Yeah, they signed Brad Ruzin and someone else.
Blake Smith.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
And they released their new kits, which they look really nice. What do you guys thought on the new Miami FC kits for their inaugural season?
I like them. I think they're very Miami.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, I really like them. Those are nice colors.
I saw people saying that the brand or whatever is not a good brand, like their whatever it is.
Macron.
Yeah, I saw some complaints about that, but
kids.
I like the colors and all that.
Well, that kit supplier supplies Aston Villa, Lazio in Italy, and some other clubs that I just forgot.
We're sponsored by Nike, so I kind of have. I'm fortunate.
I might be in the minority here, but I like the Tampa Bay Rowdies uniforms.
I love them. The hoops. How can you not love the hoops?
I love the hoops. I think, and not just the hoops, the colors, the red and the green clash. I love it. I think they're great. But I'll say this: I don't think that opinion is shared amongst many of my friends and colleagues.
Well, for the record, I don't like the hoops. I don't like
there you go.
I don't like the Cosmos, so.
Yeah, I think we should get a new third kit in there. I like the blue one, but I think we should change every year. You know what I mean? Like, we need something different in there. We have our original, white and green shirts, which are nice, but let's get a different third kit in there. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think every team should have a wild third kit. I think that's like how like Barca has like the light blue, and then like some teams have pink. I think every team should have like a third kit that's just off the wall. That's my opinion.
Yeah. We got a third kit this year. We wore it once. We lost to Minnesota and never wore them again.
What color was your third kit? I don't even
It
remember
had
having a
plaid,
third kit.
like lumberjack plaid on the shoulders. You didn't see those? Oh,
No, I've never saw them.
Okay, I was not a fan, but a lot of people were. It's one of those things, and I think they sold a lot of those kits, but they never wore them again. And I heard a rumor, it's just a rumor, I'm not sure if this is true or not, that the kit manufacturer is changing for the Fury.
Ooh.
Again, no, I don't want to start like, I just heard this through the grapevine. It's not verified in any way, but if that's true, that's kind of funny that they put out a third kit, they wore it once and never again.
So their kit supply right now is who again?
Admiral.
Okay, and do you know who they may be changing it to, or do you think it'd be like Nike something?
No. Hey, we went from Admiral to Nike, so there's big possibilities.
The only thing that I can say is that one Fury practice late in the season, this wasn't jerseys or anything like that, but they had new balls. We all know NASL has the Voigt ball, and they had like 4 or 5 Under Armour balls that were mixed in with the other ones, and it sounded like they were testing them in some way. Who knows what that means? I don't spend a lot of time in practice. Maybe they test out new balls all the time. I don't know.
We may see some new. Well, they will be releasing probably a new ball for their season, I would assume, right?
I don't think they have since the Fury have come into the league. Anyways.
Well, before they had their Voigt ball, they had a different one.
Okay.
Looked really weird, and then they had their new Voigt one, and then I would assume they would like leagues throughout the world. They have different balls each season, correct? Mm-hmm. Why can't we be like that? Like MLS, they have their new ball already announced, and I think they're already selling it. Yeah,
it's definitely something that comes when your league grows in stature. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so it was a very exciting, or not too exciting, it matters what team you followed, but at least we heard some news, because some people were saying on Twitter that, oh my god, why aren't we hearing any news about transfers or about player signings or whatever that's going on, but it's been a very exciting time so far, well, for me, because I'm a Cosmos fan, but I want to hear some news. One last thing, Spencer, I thought that clip with Freddie Adu talking about how people should buy season tickets for the rallies was pretty funny. He had like the green screen in the back with stars and all. I mean, with the holiday season, whatever on the back. It was really funny. Yeah, so thank you.
One more note. Doesn't Minnesota have? I saw somewhere. I don't know on Twitter if it's true or not. Don't they have like 6 of the 11 best 11 from last year now? Is that something like that? After they signed Lance Lang and whoever else. So I think Minnesota.
From last year, like 2015 or 2014?
Or either have. They said something. I saw somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but it's like they have 6 of the best 11 from either last year or just best 11. They've been on the best 11 before.
Yeah,
so I thought that was pretty interesting.
It doesn't shock me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big budget team. Yeah. And just before we leave, John, we've got some more Twitter tweets coming in. One of them is sort of a jokey from Danny. He's at THFC _ OFFC, so I guess he's a Hotspur and Fury fan.
Oh, and
he wrote, I just watched at Mimglow like my previous tweet live on Total NASL TV. Hashtag what a time to be alive. Hashtag not all is bad today. So Danny, I'm happy that I could make your day by liking your tweet live on television or whatever this is now. And Darren in Ottawa, I don't know if this was meant for the show or not, but he's tweeting me right now. So hey, live YouTube, baby. Darren in Ottawa writes, I think that the Fury will forever be like a bottom table European team or small market baseball team.
Thank God.
Well, if that's the case, then we're Leicester City this year, right? Because
we're not going to win the league.
Well, we came close. And we got to the final.
Leicester City is going to win the league.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Nah, now you're getting crazy.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to end the show now, John. You're just going crazy. That's all I've got. That's all we got.
But they are going to win the league.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so thank you everyone for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter at Total NASL TV. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about Black Tuesday? Was it the worst day you've ever experienced in Fury history? Do you think that there's going to be positive days in the next couple of days? Who knows? Theo thinks there will be, and hopefully there will be for Danny and for all the other Fury supporters. So follow us on Twitter at Total NASL TV. Subscribe and like below as well, and we will see you guys real soon.